background of all depressions is the risk of suicide, the overdose of pills, the cut wrists. Unless the depression is obvious, which isn't always the case, it is valuable to have the assistance of family or friends in arriving at the diagnosis. For without a history of the illness, it is difficult to know the change that has been wrought in the patient by the disease, and to know the normal condition to which treatment for the depression will return him. We are all so familiar with the feeling of depression that we tend to accept it simply as a condition of mankind, not an illness, which it sometimes is. An illness which can be treated and relieved. There is a great difference between the feeling of depression we all know and the one which is at the core of pathological depression, and only someone who's experienced it can describe it.
I've got a bone to pick with the big boss. Will I just own the shit that I've been on? And did you go to get a soda yet? I know it's hard, but it did cost. Will I know in time if I'll go in time? But I miss you and I hope you're doing well. It was so silly of me to ask. I got things to do, I can't stay. Although I wish I could stay all the time. If I picked a game, would you play? Monopoly or so yesterday. Fuck you for telling me what to play. I know the rules, and it's not cool to tell me what to do. And if you wanna go off the deep end, fine, but don't expect me to come save you. You, save you, save you. And it's not cool to tell me what to do. And it's not cool to tell me what to do. You, save you, save you. Monopoly is so yesterday. from the heart.
Can't keep track of the time. They say that it'll be fine. I'm damn near losing my mind. Can't keep running away. Lately I've been losing it. They say you'll get used to it. They say you'll get used to it. Lately I've been losing it. Lately I've been losing it. They say you'll get used to it. They say you'll get used to it.
Wait, I don't know where I'm at. I done lost my way, even looking on the map. I was trying to live my life and I fell into a trap. But that's how shit is, I can't argue with that. I was walking the way that they wanted me to, and they still didn't like me, so fuck all them too. Do it, I went with whoever I want and whenever I want. But lately I've been losing it with life, I just been cruising it. I got people who do what I say do, so obviously I don't need you. How many times did I tell you I hate you till you get it? I don't get you. Fuck me, then fuck you. You don't know me, I don't know you.
That's why I ghosted you. What the fuck was I supposed to do? Where are my social cues? Funny thing, I've been avoiding you, cause I don't know me either. Thought taking that tab would delete it. Now I'm on a one-way track to my demons, and ever since that I've been losing composure. Feeling shoulder to shoulder. Summer's never been colder. Don't wanna die when I'm older and get a routine, so I'm letting it go. I've never been a bad guy. December I'll be home, cause I'm losing it. Lately I've been losing it. They say you'll get used to it. They say you'll get used to it. Lately I've been losing it. Lately I've been losing it. They say you'll get used to it. They say you'll get used to it. Take my hand and run away. Well, this any other way. Don't need your love, I suffocate. So I'll get your man wide away. Expensive clothes, design and joke. You think it's not enough? No, I was just thought you tweeting, so you need to tighten up. And she has a wife, but he loves his mystery. Like, thought she might fucking mess up. Cause my enemies off my head. Like, worthless, just to find a face. I thought my head against the wall. And I know you don't care at all. And I can't see the budget off. Feeding got death and not a rock. Ooh, never thought it hurt to try. You hurt me when you looked in my eyes. Like hurry, we ain't got no time. And you keep shooting all my birds from the air. Clueless to the fact that I don't care. Cause when the world's ending, I can't be fending for myself. Losing it. Lately I've been losing it. They say you'll get used to it. They say you'll get used to it. Lately I've been losing it. Lately I've been losing it. They say you'll get used to it. They say you'll get used to it.
Yo, what is up, guys? So obviously here we got the Baked Alaska trial starting soon. It should be in courtroom 4 right here, so I'm gonna start trying to play it. Because we still do have a few minutes left. Just want to start a little early, just to get people coming in here. All right, so we'll see what happens with this. Hopefully, we get some good news today, which I'm sure we will. Just gotta keep refreshing here apparently, because this website's kind of weird. Still got like 4 minutes to go. Super chats are turned on, by the way, so if anyone's interested in that, you could check my description for the entropy link. And if you want to send a super chat, it'll come up. I might turn it off during the trial though, even though I don't expect to get any yet. Just in case anyone decides to send one, I might turn it off once they start talking. Especially, I don't really think we'll probably be able to hear well on this because this website seems pretty bad. For those of you who don't know, the trial is scheduled for 4:30, so we're just about 2 minutes away. Still refreshing here, see if they put it on here, which it should be on here, but it's just gonna be completely silent until it starts. So we just gotta keep refreshing. I'm sure it'll probably be a few minutes late too. All right, we got 1 minute, so hopefully we should be hearing something soon from the audio stream here. Hopefully they're not too late. Obviously, I think we should expect them to be at least a few minutes late because that's how it usually is with these things. All right, for those of you guys dropping in right now, we still are waiting for the audio to go live. It should be starting soon. It was scheduled for 4:30, so like I said, a few minutes late is expected, but hopefully it does start as soon as possible. Don't want to be waiting here too long. And it's not even just this one. It's all the this courtroom's live, but that's not baked.
And 8359. Please hit *6 on your phone and announce your name.
Should be courtroom 4.
One more time with the name, please.
Yeah, this is not him. This is some random guy. So courtroom 4 should be the one that will be having baked on. Courtroom 3 is the only one live right now, so
To revoke your probation, and the reason they did that was they are of the opinion that we have not yet.
all right. It looks like this is gonna take a while. Still, none of the courts are live except courtroom 3. I guess for now, I guess we could check Twitter. I guess see what people are saying. Oh fuck! I need to log in. Hold up. Let me turn this screen. All right, so until it starts, I guess we'll just look around and see what people are saying on here. Oh shoot, here's my tweet right here. I don't know if all of you've seen this yet. If you follow me on Twitter, you've probably seen this. We built the Baked Alaska statue here on Avcraft. Pretty cool server. You guys should definitely check it out if you play Minecraft. And I think Baked actually saw the other tweet of it being under construction, so that was pretty cool too. Hold up, we should go on latest. Oh, my tweet too is like the most recent thing. Shit. Uh, seems like most of the tweets are pretty old anyway. Nothing relevant to now. Uh, stay on this screen then. Pretty sure it's not on yet. If it works for some of you guys, then maybe it's like a glitch. I really doubt it though, but all right. I sent the super chat link in chat because I know people have been asking for super chats ever since they started. Finally got that there, just in case anyone wants to send anything through before we start, which hopefully it won't take too long. It's already about to be 10 minutes since it was scheduled. And either way, all the courtrooms except one are still late, so I guess it's just like that. I don't know. All right, looks like another court just started up. So hopefully the rest start up soon. Of course, Baked has to be the one that is starting late, you know. Everyone's just pretty much waiting at this point. See what other people are streaming it, see what other people are saying. Just to not get bored here. Oh shoot, we're like one of the only people live right now. I've seen this stream. See Red Pill's live. See what he's saying.
More than she
Oh
teaches.
shoot, never mind, never mind.
Court is now in session. The Honorable James Blake presiding.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Just mute my mic
Live
for
on record in the state of Arizona versus
you guys to be able to hear this.
NETCR 2020-016964. It's a continuation of the trial. Will the parties announce for the record?
Hi, good afternoon, Your Honor. Joshua Austin from the state of Arizona. Zachary Thornley on behalf of Anton Giannette, who is present with us today, Your Honor.
I believe the client was on the stand, is that correct?
He was, Your Honor.
Okay. Sir, if you'll come forward and take the stand again, be careful to step. Once you've made yourself comfortable, if you want to remove your mask, that's fine. If you want to leave your mask on, that's fine also. Just make sure you clearly enunciate so everyone can hear you. Have this defense finished with cross?
Well, at that, I believe I had finished with my direct and
I'm sorry, your direct, yeah.
That's correct, Your Honor.
That's correct. Yes,
Cross
sir.
then?
Yes, Judge. Is it Mr. Gianna? Is that
Yes.
how you pronounce your last name, sir? So I want to go back to December 6th of 2020. You were at Gilligan's on December 6th of 2020, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And is Gilligan's an establishment located in Scottsdale, Arizona?
I believe so, yes.
And you went with some of your friends that evening,
Yes,
and your friends were live streaming, is that right?
correct.
And you indicated in your direct testimony.
Before we get fully into this, just let me know if the volume is alright. I have it at 100%, but I think it's just low on the website.
In live streaming?
I mean, I was there for moral support. I didn't necessarily, endorse everything they were doing because I wasn't with them of the entirety of the night.
Okay, so now, live streaming, I just want to make sure that I and the judge understands what live streaming is. So live streaming is when you're like filming yourself and then it's being broadcast live to an audience on the internet, is that correct?
Yeah, that's fair. It's a live broadcast.
It's like a live broadcast then?
Yeah.
Okay, and you indicated that you're well known within is there a live streaming community?
I mean, I've been a public figure for about 10 years.
Okay, so would you say, is it fair to say that you're well known within the live streaming community?
No, because the live streaming community is probably billions of people, so I don't know if I'm well known to that
Okay.
degree, but I have a fair amount of notoriety.
Okay, when you say you have a fair amount of notoriety, you have people that routinely follow you as an audience when you live stream something.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I had spoken before in my testimony, not only do I have, people who love me, but there's also people who maliciously try to get me in trouble, which is what happened that night. You had people calling and making false allegations, and that's the whole reason that Mr. Pecora, ended up assaulting me, because he came at me with some accusations that were not true,
Okay.
because people called in and filed false reports, I guess.
Okay, so it goes both ways. As being a live streamer, you have people that like you have people that don't like you, right?
Sure, yeah, that's fair. I think that's with any public figure.
Okay, and you said that you carry, is it a pepper gel in order to use for self-defense? That's what you testified to on direct?
Pepper spray, pepper gel, yeah.
Is it like pepper, is there a difference between pepper spray and pepper gel?
Yes, I mean, this was pepper gel, Saber pepper gel.
Okay, and pepper gel is able to, I guess, spray a little bit more accurately than pepper spray?
I mean, I would say, in my experience, pepper gel is better for self-defense because pepper spray can sort of splash back or kind of get you in the wind, so.
Where pepper gel wouldn't necessarily splash back, or it doesn't disperse as easily in the wind or air.
I think that's fair.
And so, is it fair to say that as a live streamer that you want to provide entertaining content to your audience?
Yes, of course, if you're insinuating that this occasion was...
Your Honor, I would object to relevance that he wasn't live streaming on this occasion. I'm not sure where this is going.
Okay, relevance?
I'm just purely saying that as a live streamer, just want to establish that, why you're streaming, and just kind of lay a brief background just so that we're aware of the defendant's state of mind when it comes to live streaming.
Okay, but since he wasn't live streaming, what's the relevance?
Well, I think it would go to his friends were live streaming that night, and he was there to support them, he indicated. So just his state of mind about live streaming and what they're doing in the audience, what they want to provide for the audience.
Okay, overall, you may answer.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. A entertainer is, trying to entertain for sure.
Okay. And so you have like a streaming name, or I guess a stage name, which is Baked Alaska. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you also go by Yoba. Is that correct?
That's like a sort of my slogan.
Does that stand for like the Year of Baked Alaska?
Yeah, I think you know that.
I just want to make sure for the record. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And okay, so on direct, that you indicated that you were not aware that your friends had left Gilligan's. Is that correct?
At what point?
When you were out on the patio, that you weren't aware that they left.
I believe so.
Okay, so you testified to that on direct. But in fact, now, you were sitting right next to your friends when Kevin Pecora approached you and asked you to leave, right?
No.
Okay. Your Honor, I have what's been marked as impeachment 1. I'll put a State Exhibit 3 marker on it.
I think that's a defense exhibit marker, isn't it? Or is it?
It's red.
Okay. Go ahead.
And the state would ask for permission to play State Exhibit 3 for the purposes of impeachment, Your Honor.
I have never seen this. I'm not sure what he's playing. I would object.
Okay, what is it?
It's just a video with Mr. Pecora coming over when the defendant and his friends are on the patio and then asking them to leave in order to impeach the defendant's testimony that he wasn't aware that Mr. Pecora approached him and his friends and told them to leave.
We haven't been given any foundation as to where this video came from, who did the filming, if it even pertains to the particular night on which we're here for.
Okay. Well,
So
he
I
can
would
show it
object.
to your client and then ask him all those questions, so
Sure.
go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Can we turn on the correct input, please?
Begins, world leaders, including President.
Pardon?
I need to get help in on it on me.
Okay. Is it showing on your computer?
Yes, Your Honor.
You want to show it to the witness and see if that refreshes his memory
Yes, Your Honor.
while we're waiting to get this done? And counsel, if you want to come up and look at it too.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sir, is this you at Gilligan's on December 6th of 2020?
I can't see. Can you tilt the screen, please?
Yeah, sorry.
No, no.
Tilt it which way, this way?
This way, yeah, a little bit. Okay, that's better.
Sorry.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
And so it's kind of
Sitting here, bro. What are you talking about? He's like, no, you're organizing these prank calls. I'm like, no, not. Because the callers fucking describe you specifically for some reason. Blonde hair, camera jack. I know. I mean, obviously I know, but it's just like, it's funny to like go up to some guy who's just sitting there with nothing in his hands, like I'm some mastermind. Alright, let's sit down. Put the mask on and sit down. I put my mask on. I'm fucking a cig though.
So your friends are near you at this point in time too, on the patio of Gilligan's?
This is my son.
At this time, but this is not the time of the, videos we watched earlier of the incident.
This is my jam. Listen to it. Ain't no years inside.
How long is it?
It's just.
And no guys. I was literally just talking to some trannies that went to the bar. Oh, so
Is there a point of this that's relevant to the situation?
can I get the number? So that's what
I can fast forward a little bit here.
All right, yeah.
Stop organizing the prank calls. I don't. We gotta go the same way the prank calls. That's how I'm doing. But nobody's mom would be wrong for me to fly a tranny. There's no brother here. Happy birthday! Happy birthday! Bad baby. I don't know. Hey, just be always be. I don't know. Happy birthday! Happy birthday! We love you. If it was humiliating. Yeah. We'll probably find something. Maybe. I don't know. We're about to get kicked out because he just hollered at security and he was like, Conan.
Okay, sir, so when he said you're about to get kicked out because he just hollered at security, you're sitting right next to him, right?
To
Your friend?
which friend?
The individual that just said that.
So he's. I mean, this is something that routinely happens, as we explained, when you're.
Sir, I think the question was you're sitting next to him.
Yes.
Okay. And sir, and you say just be cool, isn't that correct?
I probably, yeah.
And is that Mr. McCreary, the individual who testified?
No, he's on YouTube though.
On the left of the video, it State Exhibit 3 for identification?
Yes, that's him.
And is that Mr. Pecora coming over and saying that, hey, we're going to have you leave because we're getting prank calls?
I can't exactly hear him.
But just for the record, it's just about respect, you know? Yeah, none of us organized. I'm not kidding. How do you get the black eye? I got punched at the West 6. And then I got trespassed, and then I went back, and then I went to jail.
So yeah, they're having a conversation. There's no sort of formal trespassing. He was.
Do you then see your friends like leave while you're within feet of them?
He was assuming there that, oh, you know, they might try to kick us out because, as live streamers, this is something that people do quite frequently. They try to get us in trouble. So he was just assuming that because he saw Mr. Pecora talking to people that was a possibility. But we were not sure. Then they went outside and I was there by myself when Mr. Pecora approached me. So I actually think that video is consistent with my testimony.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, in your testimony, you indicated that when Mr. Pecora approached you that he was angry and that he approached you aggressively. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, of course. I mean, he spit all over my face. Pulled his mask down during a global pandemic, screamed at the top of his lungs, so my ears were ringing. He shoved me back 10 feet.
But sir, with regards to this interaction, he just comes up and says, hey, you guys are going to have to leave because the bar's receiving prank calls, right?
I don't know exactly what he said. I think, I mean, I wasn't having a conversation with him there. I think he indicated that he was getting calls and that there might be some sort of trespassing if it continued.
Okay, and he just told you that it was just about respect and that you guys had to go, right?
I don't recall that.
All right, sir, in your direct testimony, you indicated that you weren't going out looking for trouble on the night of the incident. Is that right?
Yes.
But sir, it's fair to say that your MO, when you're live streaming, is to engage in extreme behavior in order to, in your own words, piss people off. Isn't that right?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Your Honor, I have what's been marked as State Exhibit 4 for identification, where Mr. GNA refers to himself as Yoba and talking about another live streamer, and indicates that he has a little bit of Yoba-type attitude to him where he just goes out and pisses people off. So the state would ask to be able to play State Exhibit 4 for identification as impeachment evidence.
Again, I'm going to object because I don't think it has any relevance to the setting that we're here for today. I don't have any idea when the video was taken or the context of it. Oftentimes, Mr. GNA is as an entertainer, is performing like skits, if you will, and so what is real and what is not is in question. And so I don't know where this is coming from or where it came from. I would object to it coming in.
Okay, show them the tape and lay more foundation.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Is this your video here, sir, from, I think it was a live stream that you did while you were in Chicago?
I don't know. It's, that looks like an intro of mine.
Okay, and it says Ride the Wave Yoba. Is that correct, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I want to go forward a little bit in this video to 2236.
So what do we have to do?
Josh has to connect.
Okay, you need to connect so
Try
we
to
can
connect.
see if it's working.
Oh, okay.
And Your Honor, I'm going to object based upon the state. It appears they're wanting to bring in a bunch of other acts evidence that's impermissible. I see a stack of CDs over there, and it seems to me that what they're attempting to do is to bring in stuff from random events that may or may not be related to Mr. G&A as part of this trial. It has no relevance.
Okay, if they do that, then object to each one, and I'll decide each one on its own.
Okay, sir, so this is your logo, and it's the Yoba is for the year of Baked Alaska, sir?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to go to 2236 of State Exhibit 4.
Couldn't even read that one. It went so quick. Whatever
object to
Steve
this, Your
Francis
Honor.
said, I'm sure he was beautiful. I'm sure it was awesome. You know,
I completely object to this. This is not anything close to being related to what we're here for.
Okay, Steve?
Judge, it goes directly, I just gave him an opportunity to indicate whether or not he's stated that, in talking about another live streamer, that he has a little bit of Yoba energy with the whole like pissing people off. The defendant indicated that he didn't want to go out and fight, and he just denied that, so we're just using this as pure impeachment evidence to his direct testimony, Your Honor.
I don't think this, whatever single incident may or may not show here, proves that he wants to go out and fight, especially on a night where he's not even live streaming.
Sure, but they're offering it to show what he said wasn't true. That's your argument on that.
I object to it coming in.
Okay, overruled.
Judge, it's hard to skip around, so I'm just going to have to play it from here, from 2224 on.
I was telling Nick, the app, like, it'll freeze and then I'll have to reload it, like this. And by the time I do that, sometimes the diamonds are gone. But thank you for the diamonds, Steve. We love you. Heave-ho! We like the hassle, yes. He's epic. I mean, he's like, he reminds me a lot of Sam Hyde, obviously. He's got a little bit of Yoba energy with the whole, like, pissing people off.
Okay, sir, so, Hassel, he's another live streamer?
No, Frank Hassel makes videos. He doesn't live stream.
Okay, and when you said that he's got a little bit of Yoba energy with the whole, like, pissing people off, you're referring to yourself, right?
I mean, I have pissed people off, but in this instance, that was not the intention, and you're sort of trying to paint, like, that's all I do, which is definitely not true.
Okay, so, sir, with regards to pepper gel, you indicated on direct that you carry it for self-defense, but in fact, you refer to pepper gel as a content creator, isn't that right?
No.
Okay. I'm going to go forward to 353, Your Honor, where he refers to pepper gel as a content creator.
Now word of that. What would you guys do if protesters rushed the restaurant in LMAO? Probably have Jagged pepper spray. Content spray. Yeah. I need to get my own. See this? This right here. This is called content spray.
Is there a difference between mace and pepper spray, or is that the same thing? It's different.
Yeah, it's a little different. So this is pepper gel. So like this sticks to your eyelids and it doesn't splash back. If you have actual pepper spray, it can you can spray someone and it can literally splash back in your eyes. So the gel is much superior.
And what is mace?
I am not an expert on it. I don't really know. But then there's also like bear spray.
I feel like you are a little bit of an expert though.
I mean, I've been.
You received it.
I received it, yeah.
You're intimately familiar with bear spray.
Well, the advice I will give someone, if you get seriously sprayed like I did, you should immediately go to a hospital and then they just flush your eyes for like an hour. They have the saline solution, and you lay down and they flush your eyes, and then the doctor just tells you to like rotate your eyes. It hurts so
You're
bad.
objecting to this.
But
Continue. I don't know what we're sitting here
The
watching.
part he's talking about already played like over a minute ago.
Well, let's first of all have the lawyer actually make objections.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Not the witnesses.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm objecting to this. I don't know what we're watching, if we're going to sit here and watch this whole video, or what the point or the purpose is.
Judge, I'll move on.
Fine.
Okay, sir, so in fact, you've even threatened to pepper spray in this same video Black Lives Matter protesters while screaming, isn't that correct?
No, and once again, like my attorney explained, I'm a comedian, I'm an entertainer. You can't take everything I say at face value on a live stream. I mean, this video you have up here is 4.5 hours of continuous stream. I say all sorts of silly things. I'm sarcastic. I play in character. That's what I do. I mean, you admitted yourself that I'm there to entertain. So,
I'm gonna go back to 2425 of State Exhibit 4.
Wait, where's all like those? I want to stay away. Where's those BLM protests? Because I don't want people to like burn buildings down next to me.
They're all in the city.
In the city, they won't
Judge,
be
I'm
around
objecting.
here, right?
Again.
What is this?
Are we going to keep?
This, well, he just denied that that he threatened to pepper spray Black Lives Matter protesters.
I didn't. I didn't.
So it goes to, it goes
Well,
to his direct
with him,
credibility. He
I
said
was-
that he doesn't go out looking
Sure.
for fights, he doesn't go out looking to
Sure.
pepper spray
Did you
people.
want to talk to your client? I was going to sustain your objection, but with him insisting he didn't do something, now I have to hear it. And maybe you might want to talk to him and explain how witnesses work.
Can you give me just one moment, Your Honor?
Sure. Why don't we take a 5
That he threatened to pepper spray Black Lives Matter protesters.
I didn't. I didn't.
So it goes to, it goes
Well,
to his direct
with him-
credibility. That he threatened to pepper spray Black Lives Matter.
All right, what
I
happened
didn't.
here?
I didn't.
Looks like the stream went
So it goes to,
off.
it goes to his
Holy fuck. Alright, hopefully it doesn't take too long for it to come back. I have no idea what just happened. Was it because he asked for a moment, they just shut it off completely, or... Anyways, what do you guys think about everything so far? HCW Backyard Wrestling Archives says LMAO Big needs to stay quiet. Yeah, he's been talking a lot, but either way, I feel like things aren't so bad right now, so... The judge or whatever, whoever's talking, I don't know who that was. He sounds like a total nerd, to be honest. Just gonna keep refreshing until it's back, like I was doing earlier. Notifications off says, what the heck is wrong with the site? I don't even know, bro. At the beginning, it was like this too for like a while, so I don't know if they just started late or what, but it's a pretty terrible site. Bro, before it started, I said it's probably going to be extremely low volume, and I was right. I could just feel it. I don't know. I think they intentionally cut it off because he asked for a moment, but I don't know if that's how it works. I don't know. That's just what I heard right before it cut off, so hopefully it's back soon. If it's not, then I don't know. What are we going to do, but... Notifications off says the objections are kind of weak and they are honest, and honestly they are yet to make a good point, but Baked appears to be a bit dishonest, hoping for the best though. Yeah, but I feel like they do make a solid point when they're saying he's an entertainer and he's in character or whatever. Either way, we're still pretty early in, so we'll just have to see how it goes. It's like the guy was like, "Did you say whatever that was played in the video?" Is like, "Did you say you're gonna spray Black Lives Matter?" He's like, "No," and then they put the video, or it was something else I think before that. Oh, about the Yoba attitude thing. He could have just said yeah, but it was sarcastic or something, or came up with something else. But he just straight up said no. It just makes him look bad, and then they go like objection. Either way, look, if he gets sent to prison or jail or whatever, what the fuck? I don't know what just thing. So either way, it's better to have nothing. But at least that's what I've heard. Only 30 days he'll get if he does get sent. God damn, that was probably loud. Hold up, let me put my desktop audio back to normal. I don't know what's good with the audio on the website, but it's so freaking low. I have my regular audio at 100, and then I have my desktop audio for the stream at like literally 100 for you guys to hear. RES 9810 says it was clearly in reference to a self-defense situation. Yeah, I agree with that. Either way, it's still a bad look, but hopefully this comes back soon. I don't think it's shut off for good, right?
Students with AD.
Back on record, sir. Please.
All right, looks like we just got back, so
Court's ruling is I was going to grant the defense motion, but because the witness intervening repeatedly to say they didn't say it, I will allow the state to see if they can prove they said that.
And Your Honor, for the record, what is it that we were asking if he said?
Black Lives Matter's pepper spraying.
Okay.
They better not see me, because I'm a pepper spray on. I got pepper spray on you. Yeah. I'm put up with that shit, but cool. Well, what do you got?
Okay. And from now on, limit your questions to things that evolve around now, not just every time you think he can show he said something different than what you ask him.
Okay. Yes, Your Honor. I do have some line of questioning. I think it directly goes to the credibility of the witness, Your Honor.
Right, and you could ask, did you ever sprain your ankle 2 years ago? And he could say no, and then you could show a tape saying, yes, he did sprain his ankle. I understand the thing about pepper spray, doing it to upset people, that he upsets people. I have no idea how that he may have said that he wanted to pepper spray Black Lives Matter people has anything to do with what we're here on.
Okay, okay, got it, Your Honor. Okay, sir, you indicated on direct that this was the only incident in thousands of other incidents where it has become violent. Isn't that correct?
For a trespassing incident, yes.
Okay. But isn't it true that on November 28th, 2020, on or about then, that you pushed an individual who you were engaged in a verbal confrontation with?
Who was that?
It was an individual, like it seemed to maybe be a transgender individual, or...
Well, first, does this have to do with a trespassing incident?
Yes, it has to do with, well, it has to do with, does it have to do with the trespassing
Yes,
incident?
his answer
No,
was
Your Honor.
trespassing instances have not become violent.
Okay.
That was his answer.
Well, that was not what he testified to on direct, so if I can I further clarify with the witness? Because he testified on direct, the record says that this is the first incident in thousands of incidents where anything has become violent.
Well, if you want to ask that question, then ask that question.
And that's exactly what I asked, and he just gave me a different, but you said that on direct, sir, that this is the only incident in thousands of other incidents where it became violent. Isn't that correct?
I was referring to the trespassing incidents because that has happened thousands of times. It can happen sometimes 50 times in one stream because when you have thousands of people watching you, you go to a gas station, they call, you get kicked out, you go, and we did a thing called RV6, which was an RV trip, and the situation you're talking about as well, I mean, you can think of that as like WWE, like people are, all sorts of live streamers are on there, but I was referring to trespassing incidents.
Okay, so you did push an individual, and you did then threaten to punch that
Objection to
individual. Is that
relevance.
correct?
Sustained. Next line.
Sir, you indicated on direct that you don't go looking out for fights, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you remember pepper spraying a man on October 27th of
Objection to
2020?
relevance.
Okay, and now, how are you going to establish he was going out looking for fights on that incident? He didn't say he doesn't have fights. Do you see what I mean?
Well, he said, but this is going to directly contradict that. I mean,
Sure, if he says, yeah, I go out and look for fights, I agree with you, that would directly contradict it. If he had a fight with someone, that doesn't directly contradict it.
No, his actions will directly contradict it. Like you said that you weren't...
Alright, that's just complete bullshit right there.
What my reasoning is.
Yes, Your Honor.
You can be in a fight and not go out looking for fights.
Okay.
So the fact that you got in a fight doesn't mean you go out looking for them. It means you got in a fight.
The
question was, do you go out
looking for fights?
Yeah, so if you have evidence to show he goes out looking for fights, not that he's been in fights.
Yes, Your Honor, I do have evidence that he goes out and looking for fights.
Okay, then ask that question.
And I'm going to object on the purpose of relevance. Additionally, again, this is also a 404B argument as to the state is continually trying to bring in other acts, and it's prohibited.
Sure, but in this case, if he actually said, I go out looking for fights, and the argument here is he wasn't looking for a fight, fight came to him. Now, if you actually have proof that he says he goes out looking for fights...
Judge, I don't think it has to just be a statement. I think we could show his act, too,
Sure.
of actually provoking
and
somebody.
that would be good if you were the judge, but you're not. I do think it has to say that, and I'm taking it from your answer as it doesn't say that.
There's not a direct statement to that effect, Your Honor.
Then the objection of the defense counsel sustained.
Okay. So going back to this incident when you were inside Gilligan's, Kevin Pecora, he approached you and told you that you needed to leave, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you took that to mean that you were no longer allowed on the property based on your testimony on direct?
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's why you started to walk towards the exit?
Correct.
Now, you indicated on direct that you weren't looking for a fight or trying to provoke, but isn't it true that in this incident that you told Kevin Pecora that I thought you were against Biden stealing the election, and now you're being a little faggot, and that gay people suck?
Objection argumentative.
How is it argumentative?
Because
the question is, did you say that?
Sure, but he's also inferring that by asking him a question of whether or not he supports Biden or whatever the statement was, that it also means that he's trying to fight.
Okay, overall, you may answer. The question was, did you say that?
I mean, at least that first part. I don't know about that last part, but I mean, yeah. Basically, we had been having a discussion before, and me and Mr. Pecor were getting along. Everything was cool, and yeah, I was caught off guard. Like, whoa, this guy just did a full 180 on me. It was surprising.
Okay, so you didn't say the last part that now you're being a little faggot and that gay people suck.
No, I said that first part of that. I don't know if I said that last part of that or if that was someone else. I might have.
Okay. Your Honor, may I play State Exhibit 5 for identification to show that he said that?
If it shows he said it, sure. Yeah. But you could show it to him to refresh his memory first.
Can I just ask, just briefly, has this been admitted? State's Exhibit 5?
I'm not admitting these, I'm using these as impeachment evidence.
Okay, but it has or it hasn't been admitted?
Has not.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to play from 544.
So we're not trespass. This guy is right here. That's how you were against libel, stealing the election. So you're just sitting here trying to attack me. No, are you taking that back? Well, I'm actually about to trespass. You're not moving. My property. He is moving. No, you're not. This is our property. I thought you were against Joe Biden stealing. And then you're blocking out the entrance. And then you're blocking out the entrance. Why are you on the phone?
Sir, was that you just saying that?
So the first part, yes. The second part, no. I said you're not going to stand for the truth right after that, actually. So that might have been something that someone else said, but that's Chicken Andy. That's Chicken Andy's voice. That's not me.
That wasn't your mouth moving with you.
No, you can see my mouth is not saying that.
Okay.
No, the first part, yes, I did say. That second part, gay people suck, that was not me, that was Chicken Andy. And just to be clear too, when I'm saying like, why are you being a little faggot? Obviously that has nothing to do with his sexuality. That just means like, why are you being lame? Because he was just agreeing with me and getting along, and then he completely flipped on me. So obviously I have no way of insinuating anything about his sexuality, nor do I care. So.
Your Honor, may I have one moment?
Sure.
Your Honor, we have in light of the defendant's testimony that he just gave, that he was just trying to say that you're not like being cool and it wasn't any way derogatory. We have a video that would directly contradict that. Earlier you indicated that we couldn't play it where he pushed that individual, but we would think now we have numerous reasons, because number one, it contradicts the fact that he goes out looking for fights. It also contradicts the fact that he has never had a violent issue before, and it also now contradicts his statement that he's got nothing against a person's sexual orientation.
Well, again, I don't know why he chooses to volunteer all this information, but he was saying that wasn't him who said it.
Well, that's not what he said, that
No.
he wouldn't have even, that...
Right, I heard it.
Yes.
But he was still saying, I didn't say it. That isn't the way it's meant. I understand the contradiction. I think everyone does in the room, but that he still hasn't admitted saying it.
Oh, I understand that, but now he's saying that, hey, that this wouldn't be an issue for me, but I'm saying I have another video where I think that contradicts this assertion on top of other assertions that he never had been violent in any other instances, that he's never gone out.
Again, he didn't ever say that. He has never said he's never been violent.
Yes, yes,
no,
he did on direct testimony.
He said he doesn't go out looking for fights. There's a difference.
He says this is the only
Bro,
incident
this
out of
guy is
thousands of
so
incidents where
annoying,
trespassing.
man.
And then he clarified today, and he said of trespassing.
Okay, the objection sustained.
Yes, Your Honor. Okay, so that's all the questions that I have for you right now.
Redirect.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Genet, there was an earlier video that was showed to impeach, the purpose was to try to impeach your belief or your thoughts or what you heard or didn't hear on the night of this incident in regards to when you were told to go or to leave or to exit the establishment. The part of the video that you've seen, did Mr. Pecora tell you directly, you need to go, you are not trespassed?
No.
Did you believe that at that moment you needed to get up and get out?
No.
There was some video played in regards to statements you made about pepper spray or pepper gel. Do you or have you ever used pepper spray to create content?
No.
There, amongst other, Your Honor, may I have just a moment?
Sure.
And with my mic.
Sure. Do you need a break?
Maybe just a brief break.
Sure.
Alright, so there goes another break, I guess. So it'll probably be off again for a few minutes. So I guess that means it was intentional last time. I gotta say, it's definitely looking a bit better than earlier. That guy he's been trying to repeat this point of Baked looking for fights. And honestly, I think the defense has been doing a pretty good job calling out the bullshit. The guy keeps saying, "Oh, well, I have this evidence of him fighting someone, so that means he does go looking out for fights." But clearly, that doesn't really mean anything. A fight can happen. It doesn't mean you're going out to look for it. So, I think things are looking pretty good. How long was the last break? It was like what, like 5-10 minutes? Something like that. I'm gonna look back to see. Hopefully this one isn't as long. I wish we had like a video too so we could actually see the videos that are being played. I mean, obviously hearing it is like the main point, but I guess we're gonna have to go back to refreshing this thing. It's pretty annoying. Notifications off says praise for Baked. I think he has a good chance of winning it. Yeah, I think there's a pretty good chance too. I mean, I've been saying that since before it started, but oh, there we go. We're back. All right, good. That wasn't too
Parties
long.
that still on the stand. Thank you all. Please be seated.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Genet, Did you have pepper spray on you on the night in question for this trial, what we're all here for?
Yes.
And why did you have it on you that night?
It's the same reason I have it all the time, which is for self-defense, to protect myself. Like I said, I'm a public figure. My, family has been attacked in Alaska, and even recently I've had stuff thrown at my house, and people put up flyers and harass me and harass my family. So, I obviously could carry a gun or something like that, but this is the least amount of force to stop an active threat.
So I just want to boil this down. You have it for self-defense?
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Judge, if I may, they just reopened the door when he says that you've never used pepper spray to create content. We have 2 videos that directly contradict that we think we should be able to play. So we would ask the court again to allow us to play these 2 pieces of impeachment evidence where it shows him provoking and then pepper spraying people in order to create content on 2 separate situations.
Okay, denied. You may step down. Any other witnesses from the defense?
No, Your Honor. Defense rests.
Any rebuttal from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. That concludes the evidentiary portion. Argument?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm going to hold the top. Okay, Judge, so we have three different charges in this one, as you're aware, right? The assault charge, the person commits assault by intentionally or causing physical injury to another person. In this case, what's at issue here is intent. So intent, or with intent to, means with respect to a result or conduct described by a statute. That a person's objective is to cause that result or to engage in that conduct. It's obvious, Your Honor, that when Anton Giannett, when he sprayed Kevin Pecora with pepper gel in the face, in the eyes, 2 times, that it was being done with the intent to cause Mr. Pecora injury, Your Honor. With regards to the physical injury, there's the long-term injuries that Mr. Pecora testified to, the chemical burn in his eyes after consulting with the eye doctor. There's the immediate injuries that he had, the physical discomfort. He couldn't open his eyes. He couldn't see for 30 or 45 minutes. He had to pour half and half on his eyes. He talked about the goop in his eyes, the dry eyes that he had. And you can just see it in the video here, Your Honor. Well, State Exhibit 2, and it may not populate, so I'll move forward. But in State Exhibit 2, you can see the actual discomfort that Mr. Pecora was in. He's standing there. He can't open his eyes. The officer's telling him, hey, just don't, mess with it. And when you look at Mr. Giannet's own words, when you use that type of pepper gel, then you have to just go to the hospital to get it to get out of your eyes, and it's extreme discomfort. So with regards to disorderly conduct, a person commits disorderly conduct with the intent to disturb the peace or quiet of a person, or with knowledge of doing so, they engage in fighting, violent, or seriously disruptive behavior. The defendant engaged in all of those behaviors, Your Honor. But when it comes back to intent, with the intent to means with respect to the result, that a person's objective is to cause that result or to engage in that conduct. The intent to disturb the peace of Kevin Pecora is clearly shown by Anton Giannett's actions of spraying Kevin Pecora in the face and eyes multiple times. It's clearly shown by his statements that he makes to Kevin Pecora that, why are you being a faggot? That I thought you supported Biden in the election. That you don't like gays. With regards to Kevin Pecora, he testified that his peace was in fact disturbed by Mr. Giannett's actions and by Mr. Giannett. There's a pattern here. Defendant provokes, tries to garner a reaction, and then he pepper sprays. That's what he was doing in this case, which is intent to disturb someone's peace, Your Honor. So fighting violent or seriously disruptive behavior. When you engage in that type of behavior, you are doing it with the intent to disturb a person's peace, and it's just shown by his actions. And Mr. Pecora testified that he was at peace prior to Mr. Giannett's actions, and that his peace was disturbed by Mr. Giannett's actions. Okay, so criminal trespass. A person commits criminal trespass if they knowingly enter or remain unlawfully on any real property after a reasonable request to leave by any other person having lawful control over such property. So in this case, Your Honor, Mr. Pecora he had control of the property. He asked Mr. G&A to leave. You can go back to the records. I know Mr. G&A just testified to you, but on direct on the first day, he said that Mr. Pecora approached him, asked him to leave, that he got up, he knew that the business could trespass him for any reason, that he started heading towards the exit, but he refuses to leave. He gets to the door, and then he blocks the entrance. He's on their property, and he's refusing to leave. Now, the defense has asserted this self-defense, but it's not a justification, because a person is justified in using physical force in order to remove a person from their property. And that's what happened in this case. His push of Mr. G&A, it was lawful. It was to stop the trespassing that was ongoing on the property. And he was justified in using that force. So then Mr. G&A cannot claim self-defense because self-defense requires unlawful force, and this was lawful force, Your Honor. You can see from this video, from the state exhibits, where Mr. G&A...
back to that? I missed that last argument.
Yes, Your Honor. What I'm saying is that in order to assert self-defense as an argument, that the force has to be in order to protect yourself from unlawful force. And that Mr. Pecora's force was lawful because he was protecting the property as he's allowed to do so under the law. So the self-defense is not a defense in this case. It can't be, because lawful force was being applied when Mr. Pecora pushed Mr. G&A. Mr. G&A does not now get to use the justification of self-defense.
Okay, go on.
And then here, Your Honor, you can see where Mr. G&A is clearly within the property line. He's refusing to leave. He's provoking at that time. Your Honor, the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of the assault, that he's guilty of disorderly conduct, and that he's guilty of the criminal trespass. And we ask that the court find him guilty on all three offenses, Your Honor.
Defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'm going to start with the investigation itself. The officer that took the stand testified that he made the decision to make an arrest before he even got Mr. G&A's side of things, before he's seen any videos whatsoever. I think when he first took the stand, he said, oh no, that didn't happen, I've seen the videos or something like that. And then after some discussion, he admitted, yeah, he made the decision solely after speaking to Mr. Pecora. What's more telling, I think, and revealing in regards to that investigation is the further testimony that he gave, which is that he has conducted hundreds, I don't think he admitted to thousands, but he said hundreds of these investigations involving patrons and bouncers, and that 100% of the time he always goes after the patron. 100% of the time he always arrests the patron. He testified that he has never even so much as investigated a bouncer in any of these situations, which is troubling. It's very troubling that that's what happens. And it's troubling that that's the way this investigation started. He also admitted that from his estimation and his experience and training that Mr. G&A was not drinking any alcohol that night. And I bring that up because I believe it's important to go to Mr. G&A's mindset, that he wasn't out drinking and the typical maybe drunk person who gets into a tumble, I guess, if you will. Moving on to the trespassing, Your Honor, the elements of trespassing require that the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. G&A knowingly remained unlawfully. And here, it's clear what happens. It's clear because we watched the video probably 10 or 20 times throughout the course of this trial. But he moves to where he's supposed to. He moves to where Mr. Pecora shows him to move to. The video, again, not to belabor it, Your Honor, but Mr. Pecora clearly goes like this and says, you gotta get on the other side of that. And Mr. G&A crosses that line, whatever that line is. He crosses that line. The the bouncer, Mr. Pecora, at some point later testified that he stepped back onto his own property after the shove. And so the fact that he lays out the line, Mr. G&A steps to the other side of it, removes the fact that, or any evidence that Mr. G&A knew that he was remaining to trespass at that point.
You mean the part about stop blocking my door, don't block my door?
I'll get to that part, Your
Okay.
Honor. Thank you. I'll get to that part.
Sure.
So, he was told that he was about to be trespassed. I don't believe that there was any point where he said, "You are trespassed, get off the property." I think it became clear he wanted him to leave, but I don't believe that those exact words ever came out. And, Your Honor, during some of the questioning, I had objected to Mr. Pecora not being a surveyor. He doesn't know the exact boundaries of the land. And you mentioned, hey, if it's a resident, we're not going to hold them to that standard. The same standard applies to Mr. G&A. He is not a surveyor either. He doesn't know exactly what the boundaries are. And if Mr. Pecora is giving him the boundary and he steps on the other side of it, he has clearly left the property. He moved to the other side because the bouncer said, "This is our property." That's what he says in the video. "This is our property." If he remained on the property, then which I don't believe was proven, but if he had, it doesn't meet the elements that he knowingly remained on the property, given that, again, he stepped to the other side of where Mr. Pecora said, "This is our property," and that's in the video. If by being in front of the door, Mr. G&A was in fact still on the property, he was there unknowingly as a residential homeowner, like I just brought up, maybe unsure about the exact boundaries within his home or without being a surveyor. If Mr. G&A had remained on the side in which Mr. Pecora had clearly indicated, and he had not stepped to that other side, I don't think there would be any doubt in this case as to whether or not he was trespassing. But he did, as Mr. Pecora asked, he moved to the other side of the line, and it's our belief that that charge cannot stand because it does lack that element of knowing, Your Honor. In regards to disorderly conduct, even if self-defense was not a factor in this case, which it clearly is, but if it was not, our courts have held that the statute defining disorderly conduct does not require that someone actually disturbs the peace of another through certain acts. Rather, the statute requires the commission of certain acts with intent to disturb the peace or with knowledge of doing so. And here, Mr. G&A's actions are a reaction to being attacked. Not an intentional action, not an action he was taking time to think about and knowingly acted to disturb the peace. When the state charges disorderly conduct, they must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Pecora was in fact at peace. And I think it's clear that Mr. Pecora was not at peace. He has a history of being violent. That was evident from the testimony. He admitted he's a convicted felon for aggravated assault. He discussed with the officer on the very night, right after this incident, having body armor and guns and being ready, purportedly for the day in which he needs to use them. He openly discussed with the officer knocking people out or punching people in the face, and then saying, "Oh, I think that they were going to harm somebody else, so oh well, I've knocked them out." He's obviously not a peaceful person. He has a propensity for violence. His exact words was that it is a cycle of whoever is the most vicious. And I would ask this court, does that sound like a person who is at peace? Whoever is the most vicious. He was angry. He was screaming. at the top of his lungs. In regards to, and then he became physical with Mr. G&A after he screamed. And he shoved him with all intentions to, in my opinion, take Mr. G&A out. The shove was not a light shove. I think that's clear from the video. If you shove someone and they go flying back even 3 or 4 feet, and in this case it was 8, 10, maybe 12 feet, he flies back, that's not a light shove. It's not like a tap on the shoulder. In regards to the assault and self-defense, Mr. G&A is entitled to self-defense if there's the slightest evidence that's presented. And here Mr. G&A testified before this court that he was in fear, and the video shows that he was in fear, and that fear was reasonable and it was real. He was spat upon when Mr. Pecora pulled his mask down. He was screamed at within millimeters of his face, of his ear actually, which is assault itself, and he was shoved with great intensity. The shove was with such force that it knocked Mr. G&A's belongings out of his pockets. The state has a burden to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the self-defense was absent, that it didn't exist. It's an element of this case, and in fact they brought out no evidence, zero evidence, that Mr. G&A did not act in self-defense. Instead, the state wanted to play video after video of gotcha moments. And there was absolutely no testimony or evidence that Mr. G&A did not act in self-defense. Here, Your Honor, the state's witness, Mr. Pecora, was, I have to say, the most incredible witness I've ever cross-examined, or examined for that matter. I believe, in fact, that he perjured himself on the stand when he said that he didn't remember his own voice. I think that he's either a liar. Objection and proper close.
Continue on.
I think that he's either a liar or he is that incredible that he doesn't remember his own voice, which cuts through the credibility of anything else that he had to say, in our opinion, Your Honor. He should be held in contempt and made to face charges for lying on the stand and making a mockery of this court.
We're not here on charges. That's up to the state to see if they charge.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe that his credibility is entirely in question. The standard for self-defense or justification is an objective standard that depends on the beliefs of a reasonable person in the defendant's circumstances. A reasonable person in Mr. G&A's circumstances would not expect to have a bouncer scream at the top of their lungs in their ear. A reasonable person wouldn't expect to be physically assaulted because the bouncer believes that they're blocking the door. To put this into a different perspective, Your Honor, if a homeless person were laying in a business's doorway, which is something that I've witnessed myself, I'm sure others have as well, the Scottsdale City Prosecutor's Office argues today that it's not only reasonable, but it's justified to scream at the homeless person and then physically assault them to move them out of the way of the business's door. And that homeless person or that person in that instance would have no recourse to defend themselves. That's the position of the state here today. A reasonable person in Mr. G&A's circumstances, and going back to those circumstances, he was asked to leave after his friends were live streaming. He was not live streaming. He was not drinking any alcohol. He was drinking water. He, I believe, testified that he had just gotten over a cold. He was the designated driver. He was just kind of sitting there relaxing. when he's asked to leave, he follows that order. There's question about how quickly that happens, but he follows the order and he heads towards the entrance to the facility, to the establishment, Your Honor. He follows that order, and then he goes to where the boundary is for what Mr. Pecora sets out, and he steps on the other side of that boundary. And I would ask this court, what law gives the bouncer the right to be physical with Mr. G&A in the first place? What law bestows upon the bouncer here in Scottsdale qualified immunity to act with impunity? Because that's what we have here. Hundreds of investigations, and not a single time does the officer ever look at the bouncer for assaulting patrons. It's almost scandalous, Your Honor. The Scottsdale police are using bouncers who, in many instances, as in the case here, are convicted felons as an extension of law enforcement.
Yes, there's no evidence to that at all, so obviously that's improper.
There's evidence to it in this particular case, Your Honor.
That the police have hired bouncers or using
Not hired, Your Honor. I said that they use them as an extension.
Okay, well, the Charter of Fact rules, there is no evidence of that. Proceed with a different argument.
The Scottsdale City Prosecutor's Office is entirely complacent with the actions that the bouncer.
Proper argument.
You can go ahead.
They didn't even bother. Their complacency shows that they didn't even bother to check whether or not he had a criminal history because they didn't care. Mr. G&A had the right to defend himself that evening. He had the right not to be physically assaulted. In fact, it should have been the bouncer who was charged. If the bouncer believed that the door was being blocked, he could have called law enforcement to address the situation. He's subject to the same rules that you and I and even law enforcement live by, even the same. And so, putting that into perspective, if he had called law enforcement to the scene, we can't foresee the future, but I don't see law enforcement coming to the scene and shoving Mr. G&A down unless he was to use some force towards them. The bouncer has to use, if he believes that Mr. G&A is still on his property or what have you, he has to use a reasonable amount of force to accomplish what he needs in order to carry out his job. You can't go from 0 to 100, which is what we witnessed. They're standing there and it goes from screaming, and then immediately after the scream, there is a very intense shove. You can't go from 0 to 100, that's not lawful force. And I ask this court, why is it okay for a convicted felon to put his hands on people when no force is being used upon him? Your Honor, if it was a person that was sleeping in front of the doors of this courthouse, the state's position is that it would be okay for security to shove that person around and that person would not have the ability to defend themselves the way that Mr. G&A was shoved here. Mr. G&A should not be found guilty on all of these charges, Your Honor.
Rebuttal?
Yes, Your Honor. Like I said at the beginning of the case, this is a case about a man that's desperate for attention, a man that's trying to garner clicks on the internet. He has to go to the next extreme in order to get those likes, in order to get what his audience expects of him. And that's exactly what all the evidence in this case shows, Your Honor. And the defense brings up that there was an investigation done. Well, we have direct video evidence of this incident, the best type of evidence that you can have. And that video evidence shows clearly what happened in this case. The officers made the right decision. With regards to knowing, when it comes to the trespass, Your Honor, I would point the court to the direction of knowing, that a person is aware or believes that the person's conduct is of a nature or that the circumstance exists. The defendant knew that he was standing right there. Mr. Pecora told him over and over again to stop blocking my entrance, to leave. He doesn't do that. It does not require any knowledge of the unlawfulness of the act or omission, which seems to be what the defense is arguing. So that's not required. What is required is that a person's aware or believes that the conduct is of a nature or the circumstance exists. That's exactly what we have here. With regards to disorderly conduct and that he didn't have the intent, but that this was a reaction, the defendant gets pushed, and there was over like 10 seconds, we counted it, and he then grabs his pepper spray out of whatever pack he has, he then sprays him, and then he goes back for more after Mr. Pecora steps back and sprays him again. This was intentional. Like I said at the beginning, he is trying to provoke in order to garner clicks, to garner reactions, to garner attention, what he's desperate for. So with regards to Mr. Pecora wasn't at peace. Well, he testified that he was at peace. You saw the video where he goes, approaches and tells guys, it's about respect. You guys have to go. We're getting the calls. His peace is disturbed by the defendant's actions, as you can clearly see in the video evidence, as is supported by his own testimony. The video paints what happened here. That self-defense, okay, so with regards to self-defense, self-defense cannot be used here. And the defense asks, okay, can you point me to, well, what law allows Mr. Pecora to push him?
Let me ask you, why can't it be used? I understand your argument that it's not valid, but why can't it be used?
Well, they can assert it, right, but they're not able to actually show that it was.
But asserting is using it.
Okay, well then
sure.
What I mean is that it cannot be used successfully in this case because Mr. Pecora's actions were justifying. He was defending the property. When defense asked, well, what law? Well, it's defense of property, ARS 13-1407. So with regards to, was it reasonable force? He pushed Mr. G&A from the property off of the property. The statute justification or use of force just requires it to be reasonable, but it even talks about using deadly force. He used the force to get him out of the entrance so that he was no longer committing the trespass on the property. That is reasonable force. And then Mr. G&A reacted. This is not self-defense. This was him trying to garner attention. The homeless analogy has nothing to do with this case, Your Honor. With regards to this case, he was given every opportunity to leave the property. And defense asked, well, what would a reasonable person in Mr. G&A's circumstances do? Well, Mr. G&A did not act reasonably at all. A reasonable person, when asked to leave, would have left. They wouldn't have lingered. They wouldn't have said, well, I'm having a conversation with him, in which they call him a faggot, in which they said, well, I thought you support Biden. Well, why are you being gay? That's not a reasonable person. That's a person that's engaging in extreme conduct to garner likes, to garner attention that he's so desperate for. The defendant's guilty of all three charges beyond a reasonable doubt.
Okay. Having heard the testimony, having viewed the exhibits, having heard the arguments of the parties, we have three charges. First one, we'll take them in order, backwards, I guess, from the way it was charged on criminal trespass. We have the best evidence because we could all watch the event occur as it occurred, which I don't remember what exhibit that was. Was that States 1?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, States 1. We see the defendant leaving the building, in the process of leaving the building. We have the defendant go to where the arm is stretched out, showing the location, the general location. We have the defendant still standing there, facing the Mr. Pecora, the bouncer, or security person. We have Mr. Pecora telling him, Mr. Pecora, the security person, telling him, stop blocking my doorway. the defendant not moving, the defendant staying there. Then we have the person shoving him, quite a big shove. But of course, that's not the charge here, so I'm not here to rule one way or the other of that. But we do have the defendant clearly trespassing by not moving and staying there, and with his face right next to Mr. Pecora's face. As to the disorderly conduct, we have the series of events that occur. It seems to me that Mr. Pecora's peace was disturbed by watching the tape or the evidence of Exhibit 1, especially at the end where he is sprayed in the face with pepper gel. As to the disorderly conduct, the court finds the defendant guilty. As to the assault, I understand the defense argument on the first spray because he was shoved, but again, the shoving is not for the court here. But then we have, after the retreat occurs, we have the defendant having a pause, and then again spraying pepper gel at Mr. Pecora. And therefore, I find that this, beyond a reasonable doubt, the assault, and I believe the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that it was not justified. Do the parties wish to proceed with sentencing today?
Your Honor, the state does not. The state would ask that the hearing be set for a sentencing and restitution hearing, and the state intends to present matters in aggravation at that time.
Okay. Does the defense wish to present a mitigation hearing?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then if the parties want to confer with the bailiff as to a time that's better for both, we'll set it to a sentencing, aggravation, and mitigation hearing.
Thursday afternoon.
But also remember, I'm gone most of the months of November and December. Does the state want to confer with the bailiff as to a date?
Oh, yes, Your Honor. Do we know any dates the victim is not available?
Did you say Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday afternoon.
Okay. So, Judge, we don't know of any dates that the victim's not available, so whatever works for the defense schedule.
It might be in January just because of the time that the city makes us use.
Yeah.
Can I do it back here?
Can I do it virtually?
All right. Looks like think it's over there, right? Is that what they cut it off for? So turns out Baked is guilty in all 3 charges. Honestly, I was not expecting that. So yeah, they completely cut it off. God damn, bro. All right, anyways, I guess I'll pretty much end it here. I really have nothing to say on this. I think it's bullshit pretty much. All 3 charges guilty. I don't know, man. I mean, if it was 1 or 2, whatever. So I'm gonna try to stream again tomorrow or Sunday. I'll obviously let you guys know on Discord or on Twitter. And this did take much longer than I expected. So if I do talk about this more, I'll probably just make another video on it. And other than that, I'll see you guys in my next stream or video.
Yes, sir.